Hello dear students, welcome to Let Us Crack It, Unacademy GATE ME. This is Umamaheswara Rao. I am going to start a new batch especially for XE students. Myself, I am taking engineering mathematics for XE Monday to Friday, 12 to 12:45 p.m. And the technical part of XE is by J.S. Gill sir from evening 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. So this course is designed for the aspirants who are preparing for XE for GATE 2023. All technical part by J.S. Gill sir and engineering mathematics by myself. Unacademy GATE and ESE presents printed notes for your GATE preparation available for existing plus and iconic subscribers. Use code KUR75. Unacademy is announcing target batch for GATE and ESE 2023. Batch commences from June 29th. Unacademy is announcing new batch, Vision batch for GATE 2024 and ESE 2024. A batch commences from June 29th. Today we would like to start linear algebra. Today's session is only introductory session. Just we are going to introduce what are the basic concepts of linear algebra. Matrix. Linear algebra is nothing but matrix theory. Matrix. A set of mn numbers can be arranged in a rectangular area of m rows and n columns. M rows and n columns is known as M cross n matrix. A set of mn numbers can be arranged in a rectangular array of m rows and n columns is known as M cross n matrix. That is A11, A12 and so on, A1n, A21, A22 and so on, A2n, AM1, AM2 and so on, AMN. We have m rows and n columns. In compact form, the same m cross n matrix is represented by A is equal to Aij m cross n. 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to M, 1 less than or equal to J less than or equal to N. I varies from 1 to M and J varies from 1 to N. So here the element Aij indicates the element belongs to ith row and jth column. Now based on the number of rows and the number of columns, we can classify the matrices into different categories. Row matrix. Row matrix means a matrix having only one row. A matrix having only one row is known as row matrix. A matrix having only one row is known as row matrix. For example, matrix A is equal to 1, 3, 5, 7. One row and 4 columns. One row and 4 columns. That's why it is 1 cross 4 matrix. A matrix having only one row is known as row matrix. Next one, column matrix. A matrix having only one column is known as column matrix. A matrix having only one column is known as column matrix. For example, matrix A is 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 rows, 1 column. A matrix having only one column is known as column matrix. A matrix having only one row is known as row matrix. Now, rectangular matrix. Rectangular matrix. Rectangular matrix means in a matrix, if the number of rows in a matrix, if the number of rows not equal to number of columns, the number of rows not equal to number of columns, then it is known as rectangular matrix. Rectangular matrix. The number of rows not equal to number of columns, then the matrix is known as rectangular matrix. 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, 8. The matrix has 2 rows and 3 columns. So number of rows not equal to number of columns, therefore it is known as rectangular matrix. Next one, square matrix. In a matrix, if the number of rows equal to number of columns, the number of rows equal to number of columns, then it is known as square matrix. In a matrix, if the number of rows equal to number of columns, then the matrix is known as square matrix. 2, 3, 5, 7. Here we have 2 rows and 2 columns. So number of rows equal to number of columns, then the matrix is known as square matrix. Number of rows not equal to number of columns, rectangular matrix. Number of rows equal to number of columns, it is known as square matrix. Null matrix. If every element of the matrix is 0, if every element of the matrix is 0, then it is called null matrix. It is called null matrix or zero matrix. If every element of the matrix is 0, then the matrix is known as null matrix or zero matrix. It is denoted by O. Every element of the matrix is 0. Null matrix can be square or rectangular, doesn't matter. Only thing is every element of the matrix must be 0. One is 2 cross 2 null matrix, another one is 2 cross 3 null matrix. Next one, principal diagonal. Which diagonal is called principal diagonal? In a square matrix, the diagonal which consists, the diagonal which consisting the elements A11, A12, A1, A11, A22, A33, and so on, ANN is known as leading diagonal, leading diagonal or principal diagonal, leading diagonal or principal diagonal. In a square matrix, the diagonal which consisting the elements a11, a22, a33 and so on ann is known as principal diagonal. For example, in a square matrix, 5, 9, 8, 6, 3, 2, 1, 5, 7. The diagonal which consisting a11, a22, a33 in a 3 cross 3 matrix is known as leading diagonal. This is known as leading diagonal. Understood? Please remember, the sum of leading diagonal elements is called trace. For example, this is the matrix A. Trace of A is nothing but 5 plus 3 plus 7. A11 plus A22 plus A33. That is known as trace. Trace is nothing but sum of leading diagonal elements. Sum of leading diagonal elements. Sum of leading diagonal elements is called trace. Based on this principal diagonal, we can classify the matrices into different categories. One is upper triangular matrix. Upper triangular matrix. When we say a matrix is upper triangular matrix, in a square matrix, if all the elements below, in a square matrix, if all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0, if all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0, if all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0, then it is known as upper triangular matrix. Matrix A is 2, 5, 7, 0, 1, 3, 0, 0, 6. Now, in this problem, in this square matrix, all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0. Therefore, it is upper triangular matrix. Next one, lower triangular matrix. in a square matrix, if all the elements above the leading diagonal are 0. If all the elements above the leading diagonal are 0, then it is known as lower triangular matrix. If all the elements above the leading diagonal are 0, then it is known as lower triangular matrix. For example, one, 0, 0, 3, 5, 0, 6, 9, 8. Here, all the elements above the leading diagonal are 0. All the elements above the principal diagonal are 0. That's why it is a lower triangular matrix. Now, diagonal matrix. A square matrix is said to be diagonal matrix. A square matrix is said to be a diagonal matrix if all its off diagonal elements are 0. Off diagonal elements are 0. All its off diagonal elements are 0. For example, A is a 3 cross 3 matrix. 5, 0, 0, 0, 9, 0. 5, 0, 0, 0, 9, 0. Zero, 0, 7. In this problem, all its off diagonal elements are 0. All its off diagonal elements are 0. All its off diagonal elements are 0. That's why it is a diagonal matrix. Next one. Scalar matrix. A diagonal matrix or in a diagonal matrix if in a diagonal matrix if all the leading diagonal elements are same. All the leading diagonal elements are same. Then it is known as scalar matrix. 5 0 0 0 5 0 0 0 5. It is a scalar matrix. Next one, identity matrix. Identity matrix or unit matrix. In a scalar matrix, if all the leading diagonal elements are 1, then it is known as identity matrix. Then it is known as identity matrix. I is equal to 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. It is represented by I3. In a scalar matrix, if all the leading diagonal elements are 1 or all the leading diagonal elements are unity, then it is known as unit matrix or identity matrix. Based on the order of the identity matrix, we will specify it is I3 or I2. Understood? Thank you.